Hey, it is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on why is it so difficult to leave the psychopath relationship? Why is it so difficult to let it go? Why are you inextricably trauma bonded or connection or have sort of intrusive or what they call recurring thoughts in psychology? When we talk about really sort of breaking free from a psychopathic bond, is to understand that there is a certain course of communication that has been really developed and started, I would say, from the individual, the psychopath, which is a way of their communicating so they get people hooked, basically, break them down, get them hooked, reinforce it, and make sure that they're really in that illusory state, which they will promulgate and keep going with you for as long a period of time as you are there for some object of need. So they might need for a place to live, they might need training at work, they might need a place for their kids to grow up, they might need to get a job. Whatever it is, there is something about an opportunity that the narcissist will then target the psychopath will target specific others. And this creates then what I would call like a psychopathic bond or a trauma bond. After the love bombing, people become very inextricably attached right away to these individuals. Oh my gosh, this person is the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my gosh, they gave me these gifts no one else has ever given me. They, treated me like a woman. They treated me like a man. They reinforced this about me. I was so lonely, and then this happened. I was not feeling good, and then this happened. But, it's to understand that there has been a trauma bond which has been set up and then locked in, which oftentimes is very resistant to change until you identify the role of the emotions and the interplay that you are experiencing within yourself to be able to give your permission to get unhooked. The psychopath will have a way of communicating that sort of derails or causes a different focus in others. In other words, the normal goals or normal values will become broken down. Why does the psychopath do this? Because they need a multitude of observation from you. In other words, they can study how a person acts at their work. They can study how a person reacts, to relationship. They can study how a person reacts to certain comments or questions or behaviors. The psychopath will specifically do this with deliberate intention of being able to tell you exactly what you want or to be exactly what you want, specifically like a key in a keyhole, a specific persona unique for that individual. And the problem is that there is a chameleon-like quality to a psychopath where they can literally metamorphosize, just like if you've ever seen the Jacques Cousteau, where they're following the octopus and then it's on the white sandy beach and it's all cream colored, and then the octopus swims over some terrain on the rocks or something on the bottom of the ocean, and then it changes its appearance. It looks like the rocks. This is really what a psychopath does. They have, and it's not like a multiple personality disorder. It's very different. It's a mask that they use as a means to an end. Meaning they will feign marriage. They will feign business partner. They will feign long lost love. They will feign, in other words, act a specific way, whatever it is to get what it is that they want. So this is an indelible habit that a psychopath has used. It's felt that, a lot of this is, genetic. And I think they really kind of, from what the psychopath has advised and what I've studied, as I've spoken with a number of people on this and studied quite extensively, is that they begin to sort of observe others and then, see the relationships, the boys and girls, and they will then observe and then do the same. Not because they want to, not because they feel it authentically, but they know that it will be a route, a tool to manipulate or get another individual hooked whom they need for some ulterior motive. Hooked meaning addicted. Hooked meaning broken down. breaking down when you should be focused, like at your desk or at your school. They'll text or call at very inappropriate times, like while you're sleeping or while you're working. It will get the train of thought off, and then they will, or send pictures to be distractive. Send erroneous texts that are quote unquote meant for someone else that get your thinking, wait, what does he mean he's going to walk the dog? We don't have a dog. And then you end up calling them out of a fear and panic, and then the psychopath has then won again. So it's important to understand that there is also this sort of, enmeshment, congealing like quality to the relationships where they never go unquestioned. It's until, you expose them, or, you find out some information that really helps you to settle the score. But it's very, oftentimes there is a feeling of shock, I would say, and then coming out of a brainwashed or gaslit state, which you are in alone, which can be very scary. In other words, no one is dealing with this terror except for me right now. No one is understanding me and how this is so fearful right now. So people might begin to feel unsafe. They might feel that they're going crazy. And how do they get their thoughts back on track? Well, number one is to realize you just have to show up and get out of the relationship. Just step out and stop judging it. It was good, bad. Stop the judgment. Cease judgment. And it just is. But you need to, heal and recover and restore a sense of yourself, restore your values, restore your I am, and get this going as a new lifestyle that does not include the psychopath. But it is very difficult. Especially in the beginning, it is something you are going to have to be assertive with yourself with. And you might, a lot of fear might be, cause a real barrier. If you're very afraid or feeling that you will not get to the other side of this, you will. You definitely will. Yes. So you need to have that faith in yourself, restore faith. You might want to read books about faith. You might want to watch podcasts about faith. You might want to listen to books on tape about faith. Certain qualities that you need to restore, you might need to then indulge yourself to re-educate and recondition. You need a support system. You need to come on, vlogs like the Peace and Harmony channel. Share your story. Get it out from, being pushed down and repressed, where it can negatively, adversely impact you for months and years. People will experience then intrusive thoughts, meaning they can't stop thinking about them. They're driving, they're at work, they're, all the time, they cannot stop. This is intrusive thoughts or ruminating thoughts. You must realize that the brain, in my viewpoint, is really just trying to purge these from you. It's also a good message to show you that, wow, things are not in homeostasis and balance here. This is how seriously I must take my self-care. This is how seriously, and this is urgent. This is now. This is changing now. I don't need any more reasons. I don't need to go back anymore. You have to be committed. And you have to be strong, even if this might not be a popular choice for you or popular with other people. It is something that you must unequivocally do, is to be assertive. And know that this is not what you want anymore. Despite the difficulty of trying to pull yourself away. You will need to understand that, that these, part of the issue at play can be addiction. And, the psychopath will hyper arouse and get sort of control over people's feelings, their emotions, their thoughts, how they express themselves, and really sort of get people sort of hyper stimulated or hyper excited to the point where they can't sort of calm themselves down. This is a psychopathic sort of, it's sort of a way that, and you can study this. It's very similar to, I would say, like a concentration camp. I'm sort of thinking, when you talk about something that's severe, it is very severe, it's very lethal, and it's something that you must not play around with. A lot of people have difficulty getting the strength, putting one foot in front of the other, or feeling that they can make it. They are that fearful. So courage is feeling the fear, but doing what you must do anyway. And then as you stay on track, as you stay, in the process, you will gradually increase your trust of self, and then you'll be able to see back that you made the right decision. And you will then probably feel sorry for other people who are stuck under the guise of that manipulation and control and being fooled. And so it will take time, though. You have to have mercy and patience with yourself. You've been through a lot, so you need to give it, I would say, 6, 12 months, 18 months minimum. If the relationship has been with you for longer than 3 years, unequivocally, you're going to look at 18 months until you feel fully restored. It might be sooner, but I'm just trying to set the expectations clearly for you and know that results above all are paramount. We don't want to take years and decades before you are empowered. We need to begin this journey now, right now, in the moment, especially of inspiration. So if you can affirm, I am free, I am free, I am free, knowing this about yourself, and I am safe, and I am planning for my future. But really getting and restoring that self-trust, and knowing that you can calm yourself down. And what will really help you is to get a image. If you stay with a psychopath, what is that going to look like? Is it going to be more fights? Is it going to be more yelling? Is it going to be more chasing after or trying to, break through pathological jealousy? Where is this headed? Do you want to be that person who is yelling, screaming, throwing the chair, throwing the rug, slinging the mud back and forth, being awake at all hours, being agitated and having insomnia? Is that what you want? Do you want to be the next Jerry Springer show? Do you want that to be you, or would that not fit you for who you would like to be? And then you then must understand, if that's not what you want to be, and there's no shame in admitting that, don't worry about it. You are okay. You are okay despite what you might have been conditioned or programmed by the psychopath in the course of your journey in that relationship or experience. And asserting, namely, that you are there to comfort and reprogram yourself to your I am. I am strong. I am important. I am strong. I am safe. You need to reaffirm these things to restore a feeling of homeostasis. And you must treat the relationship with a matter of neutrality and indifference. Stop judging. This person's bad. Just let it go. It is what it is. Stop, over judging and, trying to find blame and fault. That is a natural experience, of course. But as you grow and mature out of it, you will begin to realize that you are the captain of your ship. Thomas More, who wrote that, you are the captain of your soul, basically, is to understand that, and that you must retain your captainship. You must retain that position for yourself. If you've been in other roles other than self-responsible, then you need to engage in, getting a little bit more connection with being responsible for yourself. I am responsible for my happiness. I am responsible for my safety. I am responsible for my sanity and my happiness being restored in my dwelling, in my home, in my heart, and in my mind. I am responsible, and so it is. This is not the impossible. This is the practical. So realize that, of course, it is not always easy, and the fact that you are feeling discomforted is a good sign. It means you're emerging from that type of manipulation. You are emerging. So if you are in the fearful stage, if you are feeling, uneasy, uncomfortable, wondering if you've made the right decision, and maybe worry that you won't be able to handle the outcome or handle it, if they try to contact you. Yes, you can. Yes, you can handle it. You need to detach from the mindset and the projection and that sort of wiring, or the way that they have really deliberately and pre-calculated, communicate with you, calling you at specific times where the numbers all match up, doing strange things, leaving what I would call the psychopath calling card, leaving strange books open, leaving receipts places, making it look like they ate food from the refrigerator when they did not. They will sort of cause havoc in the environment to throw people off, to make people think as if. So when they do this, they feel effective in my viewpoint. It's not a relationship, it's just that they have a feel-good experience or a rewarding experience when they hurt others, when they cause ruin and destruction, when they cause people to be unhappy or to be a loser or to be plotted against, to be triangulated against, to be made resourceless. They take a pleasure in this, which makes it very, very dangerous and lethal. So this can then be sort of combined in some very, I would say, very different neurochemicals, which are not supposed to be combined. Basically, that's really a source of terror. People then become attached to going against themselves. So it becomes a very self-sabotaging or self-destructive thought pattern. So you need to exit that type of communication that you thought was unique or special, or that you were then hyper aroused by from the psychopath. Oftentimes it is based on a sexual nature. Over sexualizing every single thing is usually a tactic. Or the sob story. The John Wayne Gacy, I just broke my arm, can you pump my gas? It's, people drop their guard down. They will feel sorry. They will, and then they forget to put their guard back up, and then they find that they are taken advantage of. The same thing with, the psychopathic charm, the reptilian gaze that tends to really get a lot of people glued in. To the loss of their own perspective, though. This is the problem. The psychopath knows this and reinforces this as an addiction. People literally become then addicted in business, in relationships, in community, in all these matters. People then sort of follow blindly this psychopath. Once again, it's a sort of an exuding charm that they are. I think it's oftentimes the fascination that the psychopath is that particularly that of fearlessness. In moments when there should be crisis, some fear, some urgency, some reaction, some, getting the adrenals going, they are cool, calm, and collected as if you just said, would you like your coffee with cream and sugar? I mean, it's a same evaluation, that they engender. It does not have an emotional resonance with them, just as if, and studies have shown that there are specific words, specifically the word rape, that most people would have a reaction to. The psychopath has been studied and how they react to specific, bystander situations or specific images and words, and they don't interpret it as a problem. It's as if someone just said, look at that bird. They don't have an emotional correlation that is wrong or what have you. Same thing with many other acts that are social norms, social rules, social laws. It does not apply to them. That is stupid. I am whatever. And they truly feel this in their being. Even though that they know that they're different, I feel that they like to hone up that psychopathy skill because they feel it makes them who they are and their greatness. So, they might have gotten away with a lot, or, it's a very parasitic type of relationship where they're sort of draining others of their intelligence, their sanity, their ability to think or have homeostasis, because of the pathological lying. The pathological lying on a psychopath, they can escape and evade, what do they call it, lie detector test, because their body does not, get aroused by telling a lie the way a lie detector can pick up. So they have a very different wiring and a really different, I would say, biofeedback. And a lot of people then, once again, they will interpret this in the positive. If they go, oh my God, I would be way too scared to do that, and here goes this person doing it. Wow, I would be way too nervous, or I would be too affected. And then this person is as if nothing happened. Nothing is a concern. So a lot of people then interpret this as a positive characteristic. So this will then cause them to go very high in companies, really climb a corporate ladder, bypass a lot of things in relationships that, they might need to sort of test out with their partner. But it's this a fearlessness that oftentimes someone goes, wow, like that's awesome. And then all of a sudden they let their guard down, and then now the psychopath can do their psychopathic work to get whatever it is, so it can be very, very damaging, and people are often concerned, will I ever come back to the real me? And yes, you are. Yes, you will. Yes, you are. You'll become a better version of yourself. You will grow in strength, wisdom, and knowledge, a knowing state. And then therefore, once you really know on this and work on it, you will then be able to identify other potential individuals who might be of this ilk or type. You will be able to identify it. I don't know that for all of you. It's unique for each person. But for somebody like myself, who has studied this, it is very important that you can then identify, and then hitherto you might have been seduced, sucked in, fallen for it, whatever you want to call it. You did not. You did not freak out. You did not respond. You did not investigate. You did not follow on Facebook. You did not drive to the house. You did not worry about them at the company. I mean, this can be very life-altering, very terrifying relationships. You need to be able to extricate yourself, remove, and restore your own I am and your own positive energy, and restore your values, which you might have felt that you temporarily abandoned as a result of this type of relationship. So it is important to identify this, especially if other people are saying, this might not be so good for you, and but you are still addicted. There is an addiction, and I think it's very addictive because it's unique for the individual and based on the hyper-aroused state. In other words, normally, because the psychopath will violate boundaries. They are big risk takers. They will do things in places where they should not be. They will hold meetings in offices they're not supposed to be in. They'll be they'll be transgressing hierarchies, social norms, and things. You're not supposed to eat here. You're not supposed to do that here. You're not supposed to do this here. But they do it anyway. To them, this makes them feel, like their heartbeat. They might, and feel something. The psychopath, I think, will also, try to create what they might think of as fear for themselves to see if they can still feel fear. So they'll orchestrate or organize things such as having 2 or 3 dates at the same restaurant, or, having a date and then the other date shows up and then they don't get the door, or whatever, that gives them a sense of, I could be found out. So they might play with fire, trying to be found out. It gets them, again, into that psychopathic, realm where they feel that, they're getting away with it. They're in the wind. They're outsmarting, those whom they have duped and deceived. And pathological meaning really creating a disease or a disorder. Really abnormal, not the norm, not your balance, not your sense of self, not your happiness and you're feeling good enough. Instead, this fear will take people over who are engaged because they then don't trust their environment. They begin to sort of communicate in strange ways to themselves, which is oftentimes based on, symbols or something that does not really make sense to their best interests. It's a very strange sort of cryptic way of communicating. So we're not going to talk about that specific element here on this video, but that can be part of the trauma bond and make it why it's so difficult for people to emerge from the denial and from the abuse. And to some degree maybe are operating that this is what they deserve when they can't see the forest for the trees. So you really have to develop perspective, and you really have to stand up for yourself. If you find some information out, that you have to adhere it and protect yourself. If there's, harm to your children, harm to your physiology, harm to your home or your property, your workplace, you're not able to focus. You must understand the cause has created this effect and be willing to be open enough to the chance that you can make it on your own. But oftentimes this, you won't be open or be able to validate that because you're so used to reaffirming, rehearsing, and rememorizing that you must be with this individual, or you cannot make it. So a lot of this might have been really falsely imbued on your subconscious. That this is like an addiction, meaning it doesn't feel right if you're not at that level. So you need to work out some checks and balances and homeostasis, and being able to calm down that hyper arousal, that fear of sort of being deluded, of being scammed, of being taken, taken for a ride, whatever you want to call it, unique to yourself. It can be very demoralizing. But you can and will build yourself up. You are okay. You are okay. Don't believe the thoughts that you are not okay. Give those thoughts up, because they're designed oftentimes to keep people inextricably hovered, by the psychopath. In other words, will they try to break you down again? Doing things to get, you back. And once you know a specific thing, are you living in denial or are you living in acceptance? And that's how they are. And I have learned from this. And so it is. And now I know how to, identify and protect myself. And really working on knowing that for yourself. So that when situations come back, you're standing strong at a firm boundary. And you're not judging, you're not evaluating, you're just experiencing a nice, neutral, you're not saying it's bad, you're not saying it's good, you're just there. You're not putting any words, phrases, or emotions. You're just emotionless, meaning you're protecting yourself from those radical ups and downs that oftentimes can be created when you're trying to separate or after you've exposed a psychopath. Oftentimes the psychopath will try to win back this person. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about this. Remember us. And they're just feeding the addiction. So unfortunately, some people they're not able to extricate themselves in those times. And then the relationship ends up continuing. They ended up being deluded or cheated on, or had account stolen from them at their work. Wherever it is you're experiencing this, you're not invited to the meetings. You didn't get the email. You didn't get a chance to speak up. I mean, all these are indicators where the psychopath tries to have this negative control. And it is very hurtful, and yet you have to deal with it for your own right. So it is not impossible, but especially when it's new for a lot of our viewers, you will come a long way. You will begin especially to grow in self-trust and trust the bigger picture, that this is going to be for your best learning, and realize that the divine work is in order. Divine order, calling upon the divine, to also help carry me through this, is not too much to ask. Just to ask the divine to be with you in this healing, just ask, and so it is, but you might not see this, today, but you might see some things coming through in the next couple of days. Keep your faith. Keep the faith. One thing we studied in university is the ability of the poet to be able to maintain a heightened emotion without that element there. In other words, how can you write about a sunrise even though you're not right in front of it? How can you write about a beautiful, majestic, mountain range and you're not right there? You have to call up your safety. That is, you have to call up your security, and that is faith. And then you have to give yourself acts of faith which are based on gratitude and feeling safety. You have made it through. You have identified. That is a huge win for you. If you have identified, you are on the road to recovery. You can do this. So giving yourself enough credit, giving yourself enough faith, giving yourself enough strength, excuse me, is important. And I talk about having, the astromation box and your flashcards. I am strong. I am safe. Write these statements out for you to begin to learn again on an index card. I am safe. And just have that deck laying out in front of you. So you read it. I am safe. You know what? I am safe. begin to, create a new reality, a new I am, which is based on empowerment and versus based on victimization, victimhood, and abuse, and feeling the meek. It is a growth process. You can do this. You've got this. This is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace be with you, and have a beautiful day.